保罗你好，欢迎你来到我们的节目。智树的孤独在中国拥有大量的读者啊。那相隔5年之后，你又推出了这本《人体》这本书，是什么样的冲动让你写这样的一个题材的作品
？Welcome, Paulo. And as we all know that your first book has won a great popularity in China. And what's motivated to write a second novel about the human mind?
Well, I've been searching for this second novel for quite a long time. It took 5 years between the two. And I think I had to wait for enough life and experience to drag me to the next part of life in order to be able to process all what happened after the first book and what it really meant for me. So I think the second book is really a big metaphor of what the Solitude of Prime number has brought into my life and all the consequences, the good ones or the bad ones that it's taken to.
是这样的，就是说他在写完第一本小说之后，也是酝酿了很长时间，因为他想说对生活有更多的体验，然后也在慢慢的也就是想考虑第二本小说的题材，因为第一本小说的成功让他有更多的就是有许多的那个反馈的信息量需要他自己去消化，所以呢，就像第二本小说就像是一种就是第一部小说给他带来的给他生活中所造成的一种改变，给他带来的一种想法吧，他想把它放在第二本小说当中。
那在生活当中呢，有各种各样的题材。我们知道你第一部小说呢，是很多是自己的一种个人的一种感受，或者是自己个人性格的一种使然。在这部小说当中呢，是完全是一个新的题材，而且是一个城市人、现代人是比较少接触到的这样的一个题材。那为什么把题材定格在这样的一个范畴里？
So, because we all know that the first novel is more about personal lives, about the personal experiences, but the next one, the new one, is a complete, very rare subject. So why would you dive into this kind of subject?
I think the human body is more external, but only from a very first look at it, because to me it's even a more personal book than the first one. I think what happens when you're talking about yourself through a novel is that you can be more and more honest the more distance that you put between your real life and the story. So going to Afghanistan, going to a place like a war context that was very, very far away from my own experience was a way to be able to confess very personal things related to my relationships, to my close past. Whereas if you take a very domestic perspective, then you are full of limits because you don't want to talk about things and people too directly because they would be mad at you and you would end up losing them.
他之所以会选择这样的题材，是因为人体的这个题材是对于他来说是一个外在的世界，然后你需要去如果你完全是把重心放在个人的生活当中，你就是去坦白你与他们之间的人际关系，然后和他们就是倾诉一种之间就是日常生活的，就很容易得罪他们，让他让他们对你觉得非常的就是生气。但是如果你把这个场景放在阿富汗的话，这个几乎是一个非常是一个陌生的环境，然后你可以真实谈论你自己的生活、自己的情感和你以及你一个完全不熟悉的环境，所以这对于来说是另一条写作的。
是不是为了写这本书特意去了阿富汗？
So you go to Afghanistan to write this book?
It was not my original purpose, actually. I only wanted to see what these new wars, these wars that are happening now, were about. Because, one day I was talking with a friend of mine, and we realized that this war had been going on for more than 10 years, which is a very long time. It makes it one of the longest wars in the modern times. So, and we realized at the same time that we know very few things of it, which is a shame. I mean, it's something that involves us all, even though we're not present there. So, I think my first curiosity was only to find out what was really happening out there. But anytime I think a sort of weird curiosity comes into you, there's a deeper meaning of it and a deeper motivation for it. And I think that unconsciously I had the feeling that I could find the right place to tell the story that I had already in mind at that time, that was really about me, about my own generation, and the hard times that this generation is going through, approaching its adult life as grown-ups.
其实他之所以他一开始去阿富汗去写作这本书，并不是他的初衷，他只是想去到一个新的世界，那边的世界对于他来说是一个他充满了一种很奇怪的好奇心。然后当他和他朋友之前谈起这个阿富汗战争已经持续了有10年之久，对于他说是一件已经是很长的时间。但是很奇怪的是，并不是所有的人都是就是关注这件事情，甚至已经把它遗忘了。所以他就希望就是去到那个地方，然后替他和他这一代人来说出他们关于这个战争的一种理解。
那去到战争第一线，在去之前有没有一定的心理准备，或者是说对于战争有没有那种恐惧感？对于死亡有没有一种恐惧感？
So have you fully prepared for this trip to Afghanistan? Do you feel like the threat of death? Have you ever considered it?
Can you say this?
Are you fully prepared for the trip to Afghanistan? Do you feel like the threat of death?
I would say I was fully unprepared for the trip. I left Italy with no fear at all of what I could find out there. And even though I didn't find myself in any dangerous situation, I was very, very well protected, and people wouldn't take me out to the real battlefield, if there is one. In spite of that, when I got back home, and after a few months I started writing the book, and I immersed myself in that reality every day, I started to feel some tension growing in me. And after 1 year I had to go back there to check some details and watch other things that I missed the first time. And that second time, after 1 year, I didn't want to leave because I was scared about what I could find. So also fear and the feeling of being threatened is something that you must be aware of, and it comes with awareness. So the awareness that grew in me was that this was a real conflict, and that there was a real and actual danger in that place.
其实他在战争就是去阿富汗之前是没有做好任何准备的，然后他当然也不感到恐惧，然后因为他去了阿富汗有一个受到很好的保护，所以他也没有机会去感受到那种真正的危险、战争的残酷。然后当他第一次回到意大利的时候，他反而在内心当中感受到那种 就是非常强烈的一种紧迫感，还有一种就是对于他的一种让他有冲动在第二次去到阿富汗，然后在第二次去到那边的时候，他其实是想找到更多他第一次错失的细节，他想去找寻到他们。然后当他发现他真正找到的时候，这种一种害怕感就油然而生。他觉得这才是真正的，对于他来说是真正的威胁到他的内心，是真正的恐惧，就是危险所在，就是一种内心的恐惧。
这本小说取名为《人体》，这样的一个名字和小说有怎样的关联？你想表达的是怎样的一层意思？
So why did you name your this novel The Human Body? Was there any?
Because one of the first things I noticed when I was among these soldiers, among these men, was how important and how vulnerable their bodies were in that situation. And I realized that in our normal everyday life, we can very easily forget about our bodies. We can, since all the needs of our bodies are immediately satisfied. I mean, we have hot and cold water, we have food in our fridges, we have a comfortable bed to sleep on. But imagine all this, imagine to cancel all this and to be in the position of building that life again from nothing, out of a desert and from the real basics. That's what it felt to be like there. And I realized that the needs of the bodies are the first one you have to care about. And also it felt very controversial and somehow moving for me to see these men who every morning dressed with their uniforms and with all these protections, with helmets and weapons, and then when the day was over, they got undressed and they were again very vulnerable and just simple men like me. So I felt that the body was really the central thing in a situation like war, and this title was for me like a sort of reminder, because it happens that anytime I sit down and write, I tend to forget about my own body and to build things only in my head. I even forget that I have a sort of material part, and I wanted to keep in mind that everything that happened in this book had to go first through the body of the man and later eventually come to their conscience and minds.
因为他之所以给这本书取人体这个名字，是因为当他生活到战士，就是那些年轻的士兵当中的时候，他才发现其实他们的身体是如此的脆弱。然后，比如说你在日常生活中，如果你不参加战争的话，你会忘记这一点，因为你所有的都可以很容易被满足。就比如说你会有很安逸的生活环境，所以你经常会忘记这一点，就是身体的重要性。当然你在沙漠中，你就会发现其实这个是最重要的，因为比如说当你就是早上的时候你穿上制服，你戴上头盔，你受到很好的保护，但是你到了晚上之后，当你把这一切都脱下来，你就又变成跟所有平常人都一样的，你其实是非常脆弱的。所以对于他来说，他写这本书最重要、最中心的目的，还是为了提醒大家说，不要忘记身体其实才是所有一切的重心，是最重要的，这很关键。
我们看这本小说，看似它是在描写阿富汗战争的这样一个题材，其实呢，我觉得它战争的部分描绘的并不是很多，大部分都是我们生活的这个军人生活的基地，以及他们生活的场景，还有和家人之间的关系的一种相处。为什么要这样处理这个小说？你的用意是什么
？So even though it's a war novel, but there are not so many descriptions about about the war, but instead we can find a lot of descriptions about the personal lives and about the relationship between families and some emotional conflicts. So why would you do that?
I mean, war is a very dangerous context because it's a little overwhelming in a novel. Because since the story is placed in a war conflict, then it seems that this must be the main element of interest of it. Where instead, war here is basically an environment, like a sort of excuse to talk about other things that I was more interested into, that are more related to, I would say, to the topic of, to the subjects of the first novel. Again, to human relationships and how hard it is to come in close contact with anybody else. And the war fought with weapons in this story is just one of the many wars that that run through the novel, because each of these characters, and there are many in this book, is fighting another war inside of himself, against parts of himself, against someone of his family, against his girlfriend, against his mother, and for some of them, especially for the main character who is a doctor, these personal wars can be even more violent than the one that is fought with weapons. And I think that's something that we all could recognize in our own lives, that we constantly fight wars, even if we don't call them like that, but they're actual wars, and they follow the rules of wars. There are alliances, there are traitors, there are strategies. We constantly do that within ourselves and with other people.
是因为他之所以就是选择较少的描写战争场景，是因为他觉得很多人都认为，如果你是一部战争小说，那你战争就是唯一的要素。但是在他看来，战争小说只是一种借口，让他可以说他心中更想说的事情，以及他更感兴趣的事情。比如说，就像第一本小说，它的中心是人与人之间的关系，所以对于他来说，第二本小说他主要想说的是一种内心的战争。就比如说这个主角，这个医生，这个艾吉托，对于他来说，他的内心的这种战争其实是比用武器去在战场上的那种战争，其实是更加猛烈，更加的情感更加强烈。所以他觉得其实每一个人在日常生活中都可以找到这样的相应的对应，所以他觉得这也是很重要的。
刚才你也提到小说中的人物，比如说提到艾吉托，他是一个医生中尉这样一个头衔。那还有一个雷内，也是一个比较主要的一个人物，他是一个准尉，带领作战的。然后还有很多庞大的一个人物的结构。当时塑造这些人物主体的时候，是出于怎样的构想？还是在阿富汗战争的前线，你亲眼目睹的一些真人真事作为你的原型？
So besides Renee and Agito, the main characters, and it's very complicated network about they each have very strong personalities. So how did you construct all this and put them in life into life? And did they are they based on the real persons or real lives?
Dealing with many characters was at first the biggest challenge for me with this book, because I'd never done anything like that. And another problem was that if you think of soldiers, if you think of the army, you see in front of you a group of men who are almost identical one to another, like dressed in the same way, with the same haircut. So my first idea was to treat this group of men as a whole, and they moved all together, but that's not what you want to do as a writer. You want to enter the specific personalities of people. So slowly I started to select one and then another person and then another one, and in order to make them full living characters, which is always the most difficult thing in every novel of every kind, I gave to each of them a small part of my own life. And somehow each of these characters, also the ones you cannot easily empathize with, are parts of my own personality. And to each of them I also gave a sort of a piece of my past and of my present. But what you do is that you transform so much that personal experience that it becomes almost unrecognizable, also for the people who know you very well. And I think the more you transform this actual truth, the better you've achieved your goal as a writer.
是因为他在当初写这本小说的时候，他首先是将这个排的士兵当做一个整体，他们穿着一样，然后朝着同样一个方向在前进，然后慢慢逐渐他开始就是希望赋予每一个角色都有一个鲜活的人物性格，但其实这对于一个作家来说是很难做到的。那他采取的方法就是说将他自己性格的一部分赋予到每一个人物当中。比如说他自己的一些经历啊，他的过往和他现在的一些想法，一些的新的念头，但是因为改变的太多，这样的话大家就会更加的了解他。他觉得是因为大家更了解他，他作为一个作家的一个目标才能够达到，所以他觉得这是非常重要的。
我觉得小说为我们展现的这些人物以及他们人物所关联的这些故事，让我们读来非常的引人入胜。同时呢，也为我们展现了我们读者不为所知的那个战争的以及基地的那个场景。比如说，在基地上，原来还有很多好玩的东西，有互联网，还有这个就是他们的音乐会啊等等，非常丰富多彩。为什么要用一定的笔墨来着力表现这样的一个部分呢
？Some parts of your novel are very fascinating and very intriguing because you introduce the real life of the military base. For example, they've got internet and there are parties. So why would you describe all those things to the readers?
I mean, in my idea, this base, the small base, the small camp where the soldiers are, which is inspired by the real place that I visited, is a sort of laboratory where all these men are closed and where I can observe them without any distraction or any interference coming from outside. So I was very intrigued by the dynamics that can happen in such a close environment among men that who live together 24 hours a day for many months. But I think the very same dynamics could happen for instance, in an office in a big skyscraper, or in a class of high school or at university, in every small closed world. And when you enter one of these worlds, of course you have specific things and details about it, and those are the ones you get through observation, and those are all the things I noticed during my 2 trips down there, that I took notes, and all the things that I found curious or somehow fascinating for some reason, I wrote them down, and they slowly built a sort of fictional environment. I think it's always very mysterious how you select a certain detail or you discard it in a novel. I mean, the criterion usually for me is that if that detail makes any sense to it's relevant for some reason for the story as a whole, then it's worth introducing it. Otherwise, it's only a waste of time and of attention. And for instance, this close relationship with internet that the soldiers have when they're there seemed quite interesting to me, because it's a sort of transformation of the letters of soldiers that we are used to seeing the movies about the First World War, for instance. Now there are no more written letters. It's only the internet, and people and soldiers can communicate almost every day with their families and their relatives, and that changes their psychological attitude to the situations they're in a very complex and meaningful way.
他之所以要介绍这个很多相关的就是与战争无关的场景，他认为是因为当时你在一个他亲身经历到去到一个这个军事基地，然后所有的发生都是一个真实的场景，然后士兵之间的关系也非常近，然后大家也非常的易于他作为一个作家来说易于观察，然后没有外界的打扰，所以他就觉得这像是一个非常的封闭的一个环境，然后大家24小时都在每天24小时都在一起，然后几个月待下来都在大家每天都对自己彼此发生事情非常熟悉。然后他觉得，因为他上面写的这些所有的细节，就是关于派对啊，关于这些互联网描写，都是他的观察所得，就是他这2次在阿富汗的经历观察，他记录下来，然后再把它放到一个虚构的环境里面。就比如说，对于他来说的标准就是，如果这个细节对于这个小说的整个发展过程是很重要的，是息息相关的，他就值得把它记录下来，把它加进去。比如说这个互联网，因为有了互联网，就有些很奇怪的、很有趣的现象发生了。就因为现在没有人写信了，所以大家通过互联网和家人啊联系啊，然后和外德取得联系，所以这等于整个改变了他们的士兵的一种心理状态，他们对待外界也好，对待战争也好，所有都发生改变了。
我们看到小说的最后一个部分，就是伏击之后面对死亡，埃吉托和雷内他们有着不同的表现，以及不同的心理的一种挣扎啊。那我想这一部分你是如何来这个写就的？
So and at the end of the novel, and you describe like the two characters, Rene and Agito, they have different attitudes towards death. So how would you like to make the two different lines about?
Well, I think death is one of the big mysteries we keep on dealing in our lives, and we never stop dealing with it. And for sure, the experience of war, and especially if you find yourself in a very dramatic situation, when you see people killed, your friends being killed, that puts you in a very close and probably precocious contact with war, and that's what happens to these men. They're all very unprepared to what's coming. And I'm always very fascinated by about how unexpected are the consequences of deeply traumatic events. That's also probably the main theme of my first novel, and it comes again here, even though these characters are older than the ones of the Solitude. But still, after these traumatic events, many of them react almost as children would, because that's so much to process that they're not simply able to do that. So they do irrational things, and some obscure parts of them take over and simply drive them for some time. The main character, who is a doctor, probably is the only one who's got a sort of preparation for what is coming, and because he knows about the fragility of the bodies. He knows that bodies can simply go into pieces and cannot be put back together. So probably that's the reason why he's the only one who remains coherent with himself after what happens. And to me that was a lot about the meaning of being prepared to anything that can come. And it's a work that we all should start very early, like at school, when we're children, when we're adolescents. There's a lot to be prepared to, and so there's a lot of work to do, because you never know what might come.
是这样，他说他对待死亡的看法就是，死亡在他看来一直都是非常具有非常神秘感的一种东西。然后所有人都在讨论，所有人都在写这个，但是始终就没有一个很明确的答案。就比如说在战争的一个场景里面，你时常会看到很多杀戮的场景，比如说身边的朋友被杀，所以使得每一个其他身边的他的士兵朋友都会变得非常的小心翼翼，因为你对将来即将发生的事情是完全没有准备的。所以这个他在第二本小说里面，大篇幅的是在讲他在你经历一些非常有创伤性的事件之后，你的这个你心里所承受的一种相应的后果。就这正如他第一部小说当中提到的是一样的。就比如说在战争之后，你在受到创伤之后，你的反应其实就像是一个孩子一样，完全的不成熟，因为有很多事情需要你消化，然后你经常会做一些没有理智的一些决定，就让你自己身体当中那种比较晦涩的部分来控制你整个人的一种行为举止吧。然后比如说他这个里面的这个主角，这个艾基托这位医生，他其实是里面唯一一个有准备的，因为他作为医生，他其实是知道人的身体是有多么的脆弱，他们很可能就会像是变成碎片，然后不能再被拼凑起来。所以他在里面的这个反应是最连贯的，就是他对待死亡的反应是最连贯的。他写这本小说之所以要提出另外的角色，就是另外的这个人物的准备，是因为他希望大家都能够对死亡开始做好，尽早的开始进行心理准备吧。
我觉得在你这本小说当中，我们不仅读到故事，而且是一个这些战士的群体的故事，他们同时相互关联，但是又各自独立。我们从他们和自己的家人，包括母亲，包括孩子，包括女友，包括姐妹之间和家庭的关系，我觉得可以从中可以读到很多的责任，很多心灵的东西，很多人性的探索。我不知道这是不是你想要达到的一个写作的目的。
So we read a lot about the interpersonal relationship, the conflicts between friends and families. So and also we see a lot of the responsibilities that we should take on. So and you also step into very about the humanity and about the other very important fields. So do you think that it's what you target at about the humanity?
As a writer, you mean?
Yeah, 是作为一个
作家来说，对。
my idea is that each of us has a sort of circle around him with a certain radium where his empathy can go, where his compassion towards other people can go, and for each of us it's a very narrow circle, and for others it's bigger. My personal idea as a writer is that your job is a really special one, and it asks you to make this circle larger and larger. So every book, every step that you take is a way to make your empathy bigger and bigger, and to include also people and human sides that you don't want to deal with in your real personal life. But as a writer, you must deal with those dark sides, and you must deal with guilt, and you must deal with all the horrible things that are also related to being human. And I will try to do that until I can. And yeah.
他认为每个人其实都是在生活在自己的一个小圈子里面，这个圈子非常的窄。然后他觉得作为一个作者来说，对于他的工作的特殊性就在于他要努力的将这个圈子扩大，让你在身边的这个疆域可以变得更加的广。然后这是一个非常重要的一步，因为你可以将你在日常生活中可能在真实生活中不会提到的一些情感，然后把它一些人性面的一些观察放在你的小说里面。所以作为对于他个人来说，他更喜欢将人的阴暗面写到这个小说里面。就比如说人的罪恶感啊，还有一些你的一些恐惧感啊，这是他一直致力于在做的一件事情。
我想最后一个问题，问一下保罗，给我们带来了这些好看的小说之后，目前是不是已经又投身到新的写作状态当中？那将是一个什么样题材的作品？
Have you considered about your next novel? Is anything on your way already?
It's almost on the way. After this trip to China, I plan to, when I go back home, I plan to start writing, but I've learned to be a little superstitious about it, because you don't know if you're on the right track until you have something written down and you hear how it sounds. But I do have in mind the story, and it's sort of, I would say it's a love story this time, complicated by many things.
是的，他现在正在考虑要写一本书，尤其是当他在这次来访中国之后，他将回去大概在10月份的时候，他会开始写他下一部小说。但是他也会有担心，也会有一种这种疑虑，就是焦虑，会不会他是在写一种就是适合他写的是一种能够更好的表达出他心里想法的一本小说。然后这小说的主题是一个爱情故事，基本上它是非常复杂，不是简单意义上的爱情故事。
好，这是又延续了你的一贯的复杂的写作风格，同时又是一个全新的题材，所以对我们中国的读者来说是非常期待的。谢谢 ，Thank you。